Today I have chosen 5 books that I've been wanting to read, and we're gonna have kind of a competition. I'm going to be deciding which of these books is going to be my next immediate read, and then also the winner of the competition, I'm going to make a full reading vlog video on that book. So the competition is going to be split into 3 different phases. Phase 1 is going to be very superficial. I'm just going to judge the book by the cover and decide which cover I like the most. Phase 2, I'm going to read the first line of the book, the first sentence, and basically just choose which one stood out to me the most, which one I think has the best opening line. Then phase 3, I'm going to read the first full chapter of the book. Now, if it does have a prologue, I'm going to read the prologue and the first chapter. And then after that, I'm just gonna choose a winner. And like I said, I'll be making a full reading vlog on that book. I've never made a reading vlog before, so I thought this would be a fun way to choose which book I should make a reading vlog on. Also, I am currently dog watching for some family this week. That's why there's a change in background. And I thought this would be a fun, relaxing video to film. It gives me an excuse to read a bunch of books. So hey, I'm not complaining. Here, let me introduce you to Maya. Introducing Maya. So Maya is like 14 or 14 and a half years old. I shouldn't be talking about a woman's age. Just forget I said anything. Okay, now I need to introduce you to the 5 books that we're gonna be looking at today. The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty. Now this is the same author who wrote City of Brass. I believe this book takes place in the same universe, but it's like a brand new trilogy. And this just sounds like a really fun, seafaring adventure, and I love that. I kind of love seafaring in fantasy. I love pirates and adventure and traveling to different islands and all that. So I'm excited to read this one. Also, I am gonna be reading the first chapter of each of these, so I will discuss the first chapter. So if you don't want spoilers for chapter 1 of a book, then maybe don't watch this. Next is Illborn by Daniel T. Jackson. I have seen a lot of YouTubers I know talk about this book. I have no clue what it's about, and I kind of want to keep it that way, to be honest. I believe this is considered a grimdark fantasy. I'm not entirely sure. I guess we're gonna find out. And next we have Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is book 1 in the Greenbone saga. I feel like I've been recommended this book so many times. Probably most people have already read this one, and I'm way behind, but I really want to read this book because it's about time. It's described as an epic drama reminiscent of the best classic Hong Kong gangster films, but takes place in a fantasy metropolis so gritty and well imagined that you'll forget you're reading a book. That was one of the blurbs on the back of the book. It sounds amazing, and I've heard so many good things about it, so I know I'm probably going to enjoy it, but is it gonna win the competition? We'll find out. The Gunslinger by Stephen King. This is book 1 in the Dark Tower series. Again, this is another series that you guys have recommended to me so many times, and it's actually the main reason why I started reading Stephen King. So far, I've read through The Shining as well as The Stand, and both of those are standout books. They're some of my favorites that I've read. So I'm kind of on a Stephen King binge at the moment. I was planning on reading a few more books before starting The Dark Tower because I know there's some references, but if it wins the competition, then I'm gonna have to start reading it right away. And honestly, I don't mind. I've been wanting to read this book for a long time. Now, obviously, this is a Western fantasy, which is something you really don't see that often. And I believe it mixes some magical realism in there. Who am I to talk about this book? I haven't even read the first chapter yet, so we'll have to find out. And then we have the Book of Elsewhere by Keanu Reeves and China Miéville. Now, I am a big fan of Perdido Street Station by Miéville, so I'm excited to read this. Now, this is actually an ARC copy. I believe it releases July 23rd. My man Keanu Reeves out here collaborating with one of the most literary fantasy authors is very exciting. I mean, again, this is a book I don't really know much about, and I'm really excited to get to it. All I really know is this seems to take place in Keanu Reeves' comic book series called Berserker, but you don't need to know anything about the comic book series before reading this. Okay, those are the 5. Now let's talk about the covers. Immediately, the cover of The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi stands out to me. I mean, I love the contrasting, the blue and the yellow, then the contrast of the pinkish red as well. It really makes the cover pop, and it screams seafaring adventure. you immediately know what you're getting into with the cover of this book. Also, I kind of like how the book is like cut off here. You know, there's like the underwater portion with the octopus, the cool tones down here, and then kind of some warmer tones up high. I really like that a lot. I don't know how I feel just about the spine here, how it fades into this, well, it doesn't even fade. It's a harsh cut to this dark, but it seems like a weird spot to kind of cut it off on the spine. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't cut off right at the spine. It leaves some of the color there. So I don't know, kind of an odd choice to me, but overall, fantastic cover. It really stands out. Okay, Illborn. Now it's kind of hard to judge because again, this is an indie fantasy book, so it doesn't have the advantage of having, you know, the power of a big publishing company behind it. So I'm just gonna be honest. I mean, this cover doesn't really stand out that much. It's just got a sword on the cover, and that's very common to see in fantasy. I do like how this sword is going like through the text. Now, this is not a bad cover by any means. I have seen a lot of bad covers out there. This is just a very average cover, like nothing really stands out. Jade City has a fantastic cover. I love how kind of in the background, very subtly, you get this like jade statue. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't know if it's like a jade dragon or what. I also really love the font choice for the text, and the text really pops on this cover. I love the green lightning like going across the text there. Family is duty, magic is power, honor is everything. That's a really gripping, like powerful quote to have on the top, especially for a series that's like a family drama, gangster type of thing. The spine is very consistent. I appreciate it puts the book number at the top there. And then the cover for the Gunslinger. I've always liked these covers, these specific editions. I've always liked them a lot. We got a tough looking gunslinger. We got the dark tower in the background. Bones from something, who knows what. I really got nothing bad to say about this cover at all. I think it gets the point across. I think it's a really solid cover. I do really love the font effect on Stephen King there, how it's all smudged. And I do like how the spine has that smudge effect as well. I don't really like how the back is just yellow. Overall, I would give this like an 8 out of 10. Very solid cover. The Book of Elsewhere. To be honest, I don't really like this cover. Now, this is an advanced reader's copy, but the official release does have the same cover, at least from what I can see. I really just don't have too much to say about this one. The pink and black, it pops, you know, but really, I feel like it's just relying on the two names at the top here to really sell the book. The winner of the best cover, to me, was pretty easy to choose, and that is The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. I love this cover. This is one of those covers that you don't mind displaying on your bookshelf because it looks so nice. Moving to phase 2. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Okay, wow, that really doesn't give me a whole lot to go off of. I assume maybe they're like praying for safe travel. Maybe it's starting off from like a passage from a prophet or something like that. It's really hard to say. I'm kind of tempted to just continue reading so I could get more context, but no, this part of the phase 2 is just to judge on the first line. Oh, wait, okay, that's like a prologue. So, okay, now I gotta move to chapter 1. I don't know which one to judge. I guess we'll include both of them. So chapter 1. God as my witness, none of this would have ever happened if it were not for those two fools back in Salala. It seems like maybe religion plays a big role in this book, or maybe just with one of these characters. Okay, I like it. I feel like that's a strong opening line. It gives the reader some questions to continue reading on, but we're not gonna read on, not quite yet. Overall, a solid opening line. Moving on. This is another one that has like a prologue and chapter 1. So I'm gonna read both of them, I guess. So prologue. How does the opportunity ever arise for one person to alter the destiny of a world? Okay, just start off with a banger like that. That is a really good opening line. It's just an immediate, like, world-altering question. That's pretty good. Let's see chapter 1 now. Chapter 1. Alana de Monis wondered daily about which would be the first to fade away to nothing. Her mother's life, or their dwindling remaining money. Okay, that's also a really good opening line. Both of these were really good. Immediately, the reader is wanting answers to these questions. So, very solid opening line. Ooh, I like the map in this book. Very cool map. I feel like every fantasy book should have a map. It's kind of like a crescent moon shaped island. Oh, there's another map, City of Janloon. See, that is really cool. I don't really see maps in urban fantasy books that often. The two would-be Jade thieves sweated in the kitchen of the twice lucky restaurant. Would-be Jade thieves. Why are they would-be Jade thieves? And why are they sweating in a restaurant? I mean, it's got me asking questions, so that's a pretty good opening line. I am so tempted to read on. I'm gonna stop myself though. Hobbits were big when I was 19. Okay, that's an introduction, my bad. Chapter 1. Chapter 1, The Gunslinger. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Amazing. Amazing beginning. I absolutely love that line. I'm sorry for dropping the book. It's okay. That's just an iconic opening line. I don't know if any of them are gonna beat that. That is really good. It's so simple, yet perfect. Okay, one more time for those in the back. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Not gonna lie, I think we got a winner. I think that was too good. Oh, we still have one more book. I forgot. Good luck living up to that one. Again, this one has a prologue and chapter 1, so I'll read both of the first lines. Prologue. A room full of violence to come. Okay, all right. Not much to go on there. Is this written in second person? I believe so. Chapter 1, The Doctor's Story. I do not have long. And that's the opening line. This is giving me so little to go off of. Yeah, it's hard to judge this one. I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot more in the following sentences. Okay, I'm gonna break the rules. Let's move to sentence 2. So, I do not have long. These will be among the last words I will write. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But, I mean, the winner overall is going to be The Gunslinger by Stephen King. That opening line was just iconic. Okay, final phase. Now we need to read chapter 1 of all 5 of these books and choose the winner. Pause the video right now, go to the comments and let me know which book you think is going to be the winner. I want to see like how many people guessed right, because right now I have no clue which book is going to end up winning me over. They all sound so good. Honestly, I'm just looking forward to reading all of them now. Okay, so I just finished reading the prologue, and it's told from the point of view of this scribe named Jamal, and I'm really hoping Jamal is going to be the one, like, narrating the entire story, because so far it's really entertaining. Now, it sounds like this is, like, a historical fiction that takes place in the 12th century, in, like, the northwestern Indian Ocean, and so far, just from the prologue, it's introducing this character named Amina, who's like this legendary seafaring woman who men have told stories of, calling her a sorceress because of course she can't be a successful sailor or pirate without being a sorcerer. It talks about offshore traders talking about her name as if she were a djinn that could be summoned. And then it also goes on about some of the vicious rumors that have been spread about her because she's a woman. It is really bright and hot outside today. I hope the camera doesn't overheat. Women are the forgotten spouses and unnamed daughters, wet nurses and handmaidens, thieves and harlots, witches, a titillating anecdote to tell your friends back home, or a warning. There are plenty of slanderous stories like that about Amina al-Sirafi. She was too relentless, they say, too ambitious, too violent, utterly inappropriate, and, well, old. A mother, if you can believe it. And then Jamal says that we might only have Amina's story because she was a mother, so that her child might come to understand the choices her mother had made. Shout out to mothers. You really don't see enough, like, mothers in fantasy. For when Amina chose to leave her home and return to a life at sea, she became more than a pirate, more than a witch. She became a legend. This tale will sound unbelievable. I really love the idea of this scribe, like, telling the truth of these grand adventures of a legendary character. It kind of reminds me a bit of The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And then at the end of the prologue, Jamal says, "But for the sake of honesty, another truth will be confessed. Her adventures are not only being told as evidence of God's marvels, they're being told to entertain." So maybe he's admitting to a bit of truth stretching or like a bit of embellishment there. We'll have to see. Now moving on to chapter 1. My camera's getting so hot. Okay, I might have to turn it off and move somewhere else. Okay, I'm loving the beginning here. So again, it starts off, God is my witness. None of this would have ever happened if it were not for those fools back in Salala. Them and their map. What do you mean? That is not how you start a story, a biography. You wish for a biography? Who do you think you are chronicling? The Grand Mufti of Mecca? My people do not wax poetic about lineage like yours do. Again, I'm loving the voice of the chronicler or the scribe. By the way, this book has a really beautiful map. And then after going on like a rant a little bit, then he's like, as I was saying, the idiots and their map. Now I understand the appeal of treasure hunting. I do. After all, we build our homes upon the ruins of lost cities and sail our ships over the drowned palaces of forgotten kings. Everyone has heard a tale of how so-and-so dug up a jar of Sasanian coins while sowing his fields, or met a pearl diver who glimpsed hordes of emeralds glittering on the seabed. The maps are, and I cannot emphasize this enough, remarkably easy to forge. I can even tell you how it is done. Anyways, I'm really enjoying the narration style. Maya, do you want outside? I think Maya wants outside. There you go, Maya. We got some chicken and tuna for you today, Maya. And there we go. I just finished up reading chapter 1. This was really good. So the point of view, I thought it was going to be Jamal. I was kind of confused at first. In the prologue, Jamal says that he's going to let Amina tell the story in her voice. So we're reading from Amina's perspective now, and this was a really intense chapter. Basically, Amina is hired by this group of young men who have this treasure map, and they're trying to find this treasure out in this lagoon. It turns out they're not actually trying to find a treasure. They were trying to summon this demon thing, this daughter of Iblis, and then Amina turns out to be so cool. She has this cloak that has all these different weapons in it, and she ends up fighting off this otherworldly demon thing. And just the description of it. There was a shriek, an evil, unnatural sound like claws scraping over seashells. And then the scaled monstrosity squatting on my chest rippled into sight. Its glittering eyes were the color of bilge water. Its filthy, straw-like hair matted with barnacles. It screamed again, revealing 4 needle-like teeth. Its bony hands scrabbled on my own as it tried to wrest away the dagger sunk into its wine-dark breast. Silver blood bubbled and dripped from the wound, drenching us both. That is just such a vivid description. I really enjoyed chapter 1 here, and it seems now like those young men that she rescued are gonna go on to tell stories about her. I am definitely looking forward to reading more of this. I wonder now if I should check out the audiobook, because there is some names in here that I'm gonna have a hard time pronouncing, so listening to the audiobook might help me get the right pronunciation. Anyways, this first chapter definitely has my interest. Moving on to the next book. It has cooled down a little bit, so I'm gonna try filming outside again, or reading outside again. So I'm reading Illborn by Daniel T. Jackson now. Okay, right in the prologue, we're following someone named Cadden, and they have this oversized mace with them. And I just gotta say, maces are such an underutilized weapon in fantasy. You never see characters with maces in fantasy, so automatically that gains some points for me. Maya, what are you doing? Okay, so I finished the prologue. The prologue was pretty much the length of a chapter, but I'll read a chapter as well. That was very unexpected by the end. Yeah, I think I was right in calling this a grimdark fantasy because it got dark very quickly. Well, right by the end of the prologue, it got very dark. So basically in the prologue, this man named Kadok, who is a traveling healer and carries the big mace around, he's contacted by this farmer, and the farmer wants to bring him to his farm so that he can take a look at his son, who is acting oddly. So Kaden follows the farmer to the farm, and he goes and inspects the boy, and as soon as his eyes meet the boy's eyes, he feels like a presence, like almost trying to read his mind. And it's at this point it's revealed that Kaden was once a holy man, he was a priest, and he carries this medallion on his chest that he touches and like repeats this like prayer. Anyways, he ends up like talking to the boy, and the boy seems to be kind of like 11 from Stranger Things. Like, he can kind of read minds, and he can also apparently like move things with his mind. He has these premonitions. He knew when his sister was going to die, and he's also having these strange dreams. And then something happens by the end of the chapter that took me off guard. I was kind of thinking maybe it will go in that direction, but then I was thinking, no, probably not. That would be too dark. But yeah, it goes there. I mean, I guess I could spoil it. I already said I'm going to be reading and talking about the beginning of all these books. So basically, Kaden ends up slaughtering them all. He kills the boy, he kills the dad and the mom, and I don't know why. I assume there's some type of danger to the boy having those powers, so Kaden had to stop it. Now, we don't know, the reader, if he's justified in doing that. I mean, obviously, how are you supposed to justify slaughtering a whole family? Or maybe Kaden is actually like a religious zealot, and we're gonna find out that his actions were very extreme. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to be the main protagonist. I'm gonna start on chapter 1 now, and chapter 1 is titled Alana. So we're getting the perspective of Alana, and it looks like it is 6 years later. I do gotta say though, from that prologue, the book has my interest. I mean, that was pretty intense. Okay, so that was definitely a longer chapter. I paused to like make food and stuff as well. I actually started this video in the evening, so I might have to film the rest tomorrow. But anyways, this chapter was pretty crazy as well. So we follow a character named Alana, and Alana, basically her mother is dying from this illness called the weeping illness, and her mother is a courtesan, and she tells her daughter that if she needs direction, if she needs help, she should seek out this high priest that's actually one of her clients. So after her mother dies, Alana goes looking for this high priest. And there's definitely some trigger warnings in there for like SA. It doesn't quite happen, but I mean, it was about to happen, so trigger warning anyway. But the standout thing from this chapter is that Alana is also having those dreams that the boy in the prologue was having. And there kind of seems to be a voice that's like talking to her in her head. So yeah, it seems pretty crazy. I'm very invested in the story at this point. I'm very interested to see where it goes. I feel like I've definitely read a lot more of this book than I did the last one because chapter 1 was quite a bit longer. It looks like chapter 2, just from the like chapter title, it looks like it follows a new character named Corin, and from the back of the book, I believe Corin is actually the like main protagonist. So I don't really know what Corin's story is, but I have to stop right there. I can't continue reading because the rules of the competition. But already from those first 2 chapters, this seems like I'm definitely invested. Like it seems like there's some dark things going on in this story, but I'm really interested to know what's going on with these dreams and the figure, this like figure of light that appears in the dreams, and how it says like lust, domination, power, or something like that. And it's those words that Alana like repeats that makes her do what she did at the end of chapter 1. There also seems to be quite a bit of lore here in regards to the religion in this book. There's this being called Aduel, I think, that was like the god figure, or more of like a messiah figure. I'm very interested in learning more about this. Okay, so actually I just realized that Jade City is only like 8 pages for chapter 1, so we're not gonna end the day yet. I'm gonna continue reading. And there we go. I just finished chapter 1 of Jade City. This one, I don't feel as invested in as the other books. I think that's just the nature of it being a short chapter, but I'm very interested to learn more about Jade, because basically in chapter 1, there's 2 characters, Barrow and Sampa. and they're working at this restaurant, and they're basically trying to pull off a heist where they drugged this guy who has jade in his ear, and when he goes to the washroom and passes out, they end up trying to take the jade out of his ear, and he wakes up, and they basically Barrow ends up leaving Sampa there and tells everybody else in the restaurant that there's a jade thief, and he runs away with the jade in his pocket. So I feel so bad for Sampa in this instance. He basically just betrayed him and handed him over to everyone else. But then right at the end, Barrow like begins to feel the effects of jade, even though it's in like an envelope of paper. He feels the effects of jade, and it seems like in this world, jade has these magical properties. So his senses become like stronger. He can see, smell, and hear things better. He can react faster, and as soon as he's like about to jump out of this, I believe it's like a window or something, this other man from the restaurant, who I believe is a green bone, so like he uses jade, he puts his hand on Barrow and stops him. And that's where the chapter ends. So it was a pretty intense chapter. I don't feel so attached to the characters yet, because again, it is a shorter chapter. And also, I don't think Barrow is the main character. I could be wrong. We did get some interesting details in here about like different clans, like gang wars going on. So I'm excited to learn more about that, and I really can't wait to learn more about the whole magic system here. It's so difficult because I want all these books to win. I want to read them all. Like, I really just want to continue reading this one right now, but no, I can't. I need to stick to the competition. Okay, it's the next day now, and it's time to read The Gunslinger. Look at Maya, she's so cute. I'm gonna read it outside because it's a really nice day, but it's also extremely hot. There's like a heat warning right now, so I might not stay out the whole time. There's some neighbors talking loudly outside, so I'm gonna film inside because I hate filming around people. But anyways, I discovered that The Gunslinger, it doesn't have like traditional chapters. The whole book is split into 5 chapters, and then those chapters have like numbered parts. So I ended up reading like a little bit into part 2 of chapter 1 before I realized. And honestly, I didn't really want to stop. The whole introduction to this book feels very mysterious. It mentions that it's a world that has moved on. So I'm kind of imagining that this is like far in the future, and it's kind of like this post-apocalyptic world. It seems like humanity is like almost extinct in this world, but we do get little references to like things from the past world. And basically it opens up with the gunslinger who's chasing the man in black. It's this kind of cat and mouse game, and the man in black doesn't really seem like he's not leaving any evidence behind. He's not leaving any, you know, food or like any like water skins or cans or anything behind except for a burnt out campfire. And there's some interesting things going on with like the world building. There's this like devil grass that people burn, but they're supposed to not look at it because if you look at it, you'll be drawn into the fire and hypnotized. Then there's also, there's mention of like what's it called? Dream wind? There's also mention of dream smoke, letting the dream smoke blow out toward the waste. Really interesting things going on here. I really just want to keep reading more because I want to discover more about like, why is this gunslinger chasing the man in black? Why has he lost his friends? I wonder if we're gonna get some like flashbacks to like his previous companions, because there's a few references here and there to like his past. There's also references to a horn. So far, this book has me confused and very intrigued, and that's something I really like. I love books that start off extremely mysterious and you like slowly unravel what's going on. Honestly, out of all the books I've read so far, this is a pretty high contender for the one that I want to continue reading, but we'll see. And now I'm gonna start on the book of Elsewhere. Okay, wow, I really do not know what I just read. That was very confusing, and like not the same confusing way with the gunslinger where like I just want to learn more and I'm so fascinated. Here, I mean, I definitely want to learn more, but I'm also just very confused. So the entire prologue, it felt very disjointed to me, like the writing style itself felt very stilted, and it's written in second person, which that's definitely something that I don't prefer. So a story like that is going to take a while to kind of grow on me, but then the first chapter is much different. It's more like formal. Basically in the prologue, this elite group of soldiers get their guts blown out. But there's this one character who is like immortal, and his jaw's like, you know, ripped apart, and you could like see a spot through him. You could see his spine, and he like pulls out like this glass that was in him. And yeah, this is the protagonist. He's this immortal person that is working for the government, I assume. And that premise alone, it sounds awesome, right? But this beginning definitely didn't grab me. I mean, maybe it's one of those books that's just going to take some time. Then eventually, you know, I'll get more invested in the and then yeah, chapter 1, it started off, it's like the perspective of a doctor, and it's different. It's written much more formally, and here we get a really good line at the end where the protagonist is explaining how he's tired of killing, and he talks about, you know, the repetition. He says, I kill, I die, I come back. That's 10 pages into it, so I'm probably just gonna have to read further eventually, and I'm sure it's probably gonna get my interest more. I really enjoy the new weird genre which China Miéville writes in, but so far the writing style, it just seems kind of disjointed to me. The premise alone of this like immortal person that's looking to become mortal and is like working for the government as this berserker or killing machine, that whole premise sounds very interesting. So I'll have to read it eventually, but I don't think this one is going to win the competition, not this time. The Book of Elsewhere is disqualified, so now it's time to find a winner out of all these books that I read, and it is honestly gonna be a very hard decision. First of all, I really loved the introduction to the adventures of Amina al-Sirafi. I thought it was so cool, just the introduction to the character fighting off this like demon thing. I just know this book is going to be an amazing adventure, so this one is pretty high up there. Illborn had some like real shock value there, but I felt like it wasn't there just for the shock value. I feel like there's definitely a lot going on in this world and with the characters, so I felt very invested in this story. Again, it was the longest chapters out of these ones, so that did help me become more invested, and I do really want to learn more about Alana, and also I want to start the next chapter so I can read about the actual protagonist, Cadden, I believe? Corin, not Cadden. Anyways, I really enjoyed this one so far. Oh man, and Jade City was so good as well. I really want to learn more about the whole magic system here. It was a very short chapter though, so I didn't have a lot to go off of. And then we have the Gunslinger. This one had a very iconic opening, and I'm very interested in this cat and mouse game. I want to discover more about the man in black that he seems to be chasing. I also just want to learn more about our protagonist here and this like dying world that we're in. Like, it just seems like there's a lot of weird things going on, and I just really want to learn more. I want to learn more about what happened and why the world is the way it is. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna call the winner right here. The Gunslinger is the winner. I want to continue reading this. I wish I could have just kept on reading. So I think I'm probably gonna keep reading it today, actually. Well, I need to film the vlog, the reading vlog about it. So this is gonna be the next read. We have a winner. Did you guys know I was gonna pick the Gunslinger? Let me know in the comments if you guessed correctly or if you thought it would be one of these other books. I do want to get to all of these books at some point, but the Gunslinger won me over, so it looks like I'm starting Dark Tower now. I wasn't really expecting that. Like I said, I am going to be making a full reading vlog on the winner, so you can expect a video on that hopefully pretty soon here. Let me know if you want to see more like casual vlog type videos like this. I feel like this was a lot of fun. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon, and huge thank you to all of my patrons that make these videos possible.